Hi, this is Vince Polito, another Purpose and Power Talk conversations on transformation. I'm here with Hafeeza Khan. She's the CEO and owner of the Health and Healing Team. And I'll let Hafeeza introduce a little bit about herself, who she is in the world, what type of work she's doing. So Hafeeza, go ahead and let's just hear a little bit about what it is that you're up to and the kind of work that you bring into this world and people's lives.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Vince. Thank you for the opportunity to discuss this with you. It all began when I always wanted to, since I can remember, actually, to help people. I'm a helper. I'm a people pleaser. I like to make people happy. You know, sometimes that's not good for one. Sometimes it is, but I've always wanted to do that. So I started off taking some classes on energy healing and Reiki and chakra rebalancing, and understanding how energy works. And I put myself out there like that. I had some clients that I did go and do the Reiki to. And what I found during my Reiki sessions are my clients, they were more interested in what I had to say after the fact. Yes, you know, when you do an energy healing and a Reiki, you feel an imbalance in the person, and they wanted to hear what their imbalance was. They wanted to hear how they can fix it. They wanted to know, how I can help them, not just energetically, but with wisdom or whatever I felt or whatever my life experiences has made me understand about the world. So I kind of fell into the health and kind of healing and like the advising and the energy realignment through, not just through the chakra rebalancing, but also just by speaking to people and helping them understand that how wonderful they really are. I mean, people don't know the power of how wonderful they are, the power of creation, and how they are part of creation. And it's right. And what I fell into is kind of helping them rationalize their greatness. I mean, that's something that, I found that it's easy for me to speak to people who are everyday, who are like everyday people. They're not those people who meditate every day. They're not those people who have stones. They're like the people who have a 9-to-5 job. They're the bankers. They're the CEOs of companies. They're not the, what do you call it, the hippie kind of style people who believe in energy and see auras. They're regular people. And I found that I have a talent to actually factualize this this stuff, and I'm able to bring it to their present, and bring it to this reality, to their day-to-day life. So that was why I kind of came into this kind of business. It was the ability to connect that spirituality, that energetic vibes that everybody talks about, to reality, to today, to your getting up in the morning, to drinking your coffee, through, just for everyday activities, not just going to a retreat and sitting there and chanting, So that bridge that I found that I was able to connect for people made it easy for them to talk to me, and also made it easy for them to be able to benefit from what I had to say, because for energy realignment, you have to believe in energy. You have to for energy healing, you have to already have that belief within you, and that's a process. If you don't believe you have the ability to heal yourself, I can't come into the room and give you a Reiki session if you don't believe it before I get there. Now, my goal is now, before I even do the Reiki session, with my company, the last port of call is the Reiki. The last port of call is for me to help you to control your energy, to make you feel better, to make you not manifest illnesses later on in your life, in order to, for you to de-stress. But before that, there is a pre-process that needs to be addressed. And that is almost like understanding that you are capable of doing it. I can come into a room with a stranger and do a Reiki on you, but my goal is not for you to be coming back to me all the time for your healing. My goal is for you to heal yourself. So my clients I tend to have them like work on them for 3 months. After 3 months, you need to know how to do it yourself. I don't want dependency. And this world is full of dependency. Everybody wants you to be dependent on them. So I don't want dependency. I want dependency on yourself in understanding your abilities. And that's where the company kind of blossomed from. And I think people understanding how really powerful they are is a life-changing event. That's the transformation that maybe you're, like you said, power and transformation. But it's my job, and it's not even my job, it's my mission, is to make you recognize how powerful you already are. That you don't need me. You don't need the alcohol that you drink. You don't need to take the drugs. I mean, I have friends that keep offering me mushrooms to go to another dimension. And I said, I don't want to go to another dimension with a mushroom. I can do it myself. Why would I, use something else? If I feel the need that I need to go to another dimension, I want to be able to do it because I am capable, but I am powerful enough to do that. And, also that's really where, the inception of the company. And that's really, it kind of fell into my lap because I have 4 children and I've instilled that power in each of them already as they were growing. I raised them, it wasn't, I just had children and looked after them. I made sure that they knew how magnificent they are and how powerful they are and how nothing in this, nothing is bigger. You have to be bigger than any challenges that are brought. Nothing is a problem. You have challenges, you have hurdles, and you can jump them.
Wow. Hafeeza, this is really wonderful. So what I'm hearing is, really this kind of just fell in to your lap. You didn't plan on having conversations with people and talking. You were doing energy healing, which is typically not that part, but they were very interested in what you were sharing. And what I'm hearing, there's a consistency in, since I've been talking with you prior to recording this show right here with you, we've had conversations and I can get from you that you're really present to and anchored in that reality that people are already perfect and powerful at their center. And there's really nothing to change about them. It's just more of like what I'm hearing you say is like you help them discover what's already there, but it seems like they have maybe forgotten or they're distracted or they have just habits and patterns that aren't allowing them to be witness to what you recognize is the constant. There's a perfect nature in each and every human being. And it sounds like the work you're doing is really helping them to realign their awareness to the presence of that within. And the way that you do it, and you're just so adamant about it, like I feel the strength of such a communication. And I can imagine, when people start to hear this from you, that it's sometimes maybe shocking or, maybe at first they're like, maybe they have some resistance. I'm curious, what do you run into people who kind of hesitate and think that maybe, hey, no, I'm not perfect, my life's a mess, or, how do you handle that if you run into that?
Well, my clients tend to come to me, and they do come to me at a point of awakening. So they already understand that there is more to their life than they already are experiencing, and they have experience. So they come to me wanting more, and they come to me wanting to know how to get more. For example, I had a client who was the CEO of a company, and his company is not doing very well. And, I just had one line. I met him for one session, and I said, with you need to remember who you were when you started your company. You need to go back in time. You need to remember that power and that passion and that drive and take that energy from that place and that time. If you have to sit down and meditate, if you have to think about it, if you have to remember situations where, you overcame stuff, transformed and created this magnificent business that you have, that's what you need to do. That's the place you need to go. You need to go back to exactly what brought you the success So go back in time and feel that energy that you had then and put it back into your business. So you will basically be reborn back into your business with the new ideas, the new creativity, the new drive, the new focus. And he took that, he received that very well. And, you know, he's doing a lot better than he was, because when you get into a rut, you forget what hunger you had to begin with. And in order to be successful, you need to keep hungry.
That's beautiful.
Unless you reach, you know, the pinnacle of your success and you want to retire, that's different. You don't need to be hungry anymore. But if you're still in the middle, you know, and you're at a rut, it's important that that energy keeps moving and keeps, you know, you keep focusing forward. But you have to sometimes remember what you did to begin your on the road of your success, because you're going to be successful again if that's what you do, because it's just history repeating itself.
Wow. I really appreciate you sharing that. That actually spoke to me. And you know, as I was listening, I just put myself in that guy's shoes and I was like, yeah, what was I doing when I started? And what was my vision and what was I connected with? And it just listening to that as you spoke, it was like re-energizing me, because I was getting present to, you know, my original source of inspiration, which was a profound awakening myself, which, you know, I discovered what it is that you're speaking to, that I was already perfect and whole interiorly. And I was aligned in my awareness with that. And I was standing in it, being in it. And it was the most beautiful moment in time for me. And ever since then, it's been like, well, how can you know, I saw that I wasn't alone in that experience, but that everyone belongs to that, comes out from that space. So the mission that I began was, how can I help other people realize that? And it actually wasn't the mission initially. When I came out of that experience, as it kind of wore down a little bit and I was present back to the ordinary life, because it was definitely an extreme moment, I didn't quite realize that people weren't there. I thought everybody was there but me, and I thought I was like just figuring it out. And I was like, oh my God, I figured it out, you know. And I was sharing that with people, and people were looking at me like I was nuts, and they were like, you know, what are you talking about? And I was like, okay, maybe not everybody's aware. Maybe I got aware of something and other people aren't aware. And that's when the mission formed. And it was like, how can I help people wake up to their divine magnificence? Like that there is this source within them that brought them into existence. It's not real, even that mystical. Ultimately, it's actually very practical and simple. It's like something caused us to grow into life, right? It's so basic. So
it's so basic. For example, I follow heart intelligence. I try to think with the heart, and that's very difficult in this reality, to think with the heart. But if you look historically, let me talk about rationalization. Historically, every single messenger, every single source of knowledge from the divine has come with the same message, you know, of thinking with the heart, of treating each other properly, of understanding your greatness already. So it's not something that I created. It's not something that I made up. You know, it's something that's already been in existence. And you know, when you understand that you are perfect, but the reality we live in is very imperfect. You know, it causes, and it's designed that way. I listened to my one of my teachers, and he said, this reality is designed to break your heart. So what do we do when something it might get broken? We try to strengthen it. And how do we strengthen the heart? By doing good deeds, doing good things, loving each other, you know, having that moral standard, looking to role models that inspire us to do that and to help us to do that. Anybody could be a Martin Luther King. Anybody could be a Malcolm X. Anyone could be a Maya Angelou. You know, it's just recognizing our greatness within ourselves and being humbled by it, because people think they're great, but then, you know, you could get all the way to the other end of the spectrum and then you become arrogant and the ego takes over, and that's a whole mess. You know, that's a whole nother challenge basically that you're going to need to overcome. And that's the challenge that resonates in the mind. That's why I try to strengthen the heart and use heart intelligence in my thoughts. So that helps me with my company a lot. It really does. I mean, sometimes to my own detriment, because as I mentioned before, it's difficult for me to actually take money from people. That's my biggest challenge. How do you charge for loving someone? And you know, it's what price do you put on it? You know, so you know, a lot of the times, you know, I do you know, work without, which is fine because I have a regular job as outside of my company. But it's more, it's like you said, it's a mission. It's not just a job. It is a mission. And it's it's great to be able to, because in changing a life, you change your own life. When you
Yes.
the thing is, people are always talking about self, and I've read a lot, and I listened to Dr. Joe, I listened to David Hawkins, I listened to all of them. And when you focus on self, before you focus on self, in order to not have that hurdle of ego, before you focus on self, you have to focus on the unity of everything and how everything is one. How everything is intermingled. And I don't have to be in a spiritual trance to tell you that, because we have a tree that we breathe in oxygen from. I mean, that's rationale, that's science, and that's logic. If we are not one with the tree, as we get our life force from it, that in saying that, then we don't understand our reality even. So we're not in a spiritual dimension when we're talking science right now.
Yes.
So when we realize we are at one with everything, then we can focus on self, because you know what you'd be focusing on? Everything. Because self is not just me. Self is everything. Self is my client when I talk to him. Self is when he's crying or he's breaking down. That's self. And that's how you become a human being, the human being you were supposed to become. Because if you look at great people in history, great inspirational people, they weren't selfish, but they knew self. Nikola Tesla, for example, he knew self, and he wanted to give free energy to everybody, So in knowing self, everyone else. But first you have to understand the oneness of who you are, and how you are connected to me and I'm connected to you. Then when you love yourself, that would mean you're going to love everybody, because everybody is you and you are everyone.
I think that's so beautiful. And, you spoke about the opposite end of I would say self-realization and one's own magnificence is arrogance. And arrogance is like where it starts like, oh, I'm so great. And it's like arrogance is like separating from others, like positioning oneself above others. But true self-realization, I'm hearing in what you're sharing, sounds more like realizing my own connectedness with all, and that now I become part of the whole. And when that's realized, it's like my job here is to serve the whole to the best of my ability, which includes all beings, whether it's the plants and animals or it's other human beings. It's really about contributing to the whole of life, because I'm not separate from it. I love the science part you brought in. I've thought about that a lot. I'm breathing oxygen from a tree. I might not see that, but that connects me to that tree, and it makes me dependent on that tree, as if it's an extension of, as much as I'm dependent on my heart to circulate blood, I'm equally dependent on the trees to deliver oxygen to my lungs so that my heart can circulate oxygen. It's just that we don't see that connection visibly. Science can tell us, we can get it conceptually, but that can cause us to believe in separation. But there really isn't. We're intricately connected with everything. And I love that you're bringing that into the conversation here. So yeah, what else do you have to share from that wonderful heart of yours that's just so producing like the connectedness just through you speaking from that space for everyone? I really love it. What else is there?
Well, my company is about my clients. It's about, well, they become my friends, because I don't keep them for more than 3 months. After 3 months, you need to be self-sufficient. You need to be able to take care of you, because that's the whole goal. Otherwise, I haven't really made a difference. And when you focus on others instead of you, you inherently learn. Like whenever I speak to my client, I take away huge learning lessons. Huge lessons. They're benefiting me almost as much or even more than I'm benefiting them. Because everyone has a wisdom. Every story has a lesson. Because everything when you are able to strip away all the nonsense and all the subconscious programming from this reality and this world, everything you see is a learning lesson. And that's what I tell a lot of my clients. One of my clients, I said to her, draw a roadmap, because her thoughts were everywhere, you know, all over the place. And I said, draw a roadmap of where you want to be, visualize, draw the roadmap and strip away, you know, draw a reality roadmap. So you have this roadmap and you have everything around you that's possibly stopping you, that's possibly, you know, reducing your ability to keep walking on that road. Strip it all away, erase it with an eraser, and then start moving forward and then add things, draw things on the end that's going to make you go towards your goal. Draw a set of training wheels of a bicycle, you know, draw some roller skates, you know, that's going to keep you moving forward. And then that roller skate, link it to something that's going to keep you moving where you need to go, you know. And for example, when you're stripping things away, take away that big heavy coat, you know, that you've been wearing, take it away. And she said, you know, before she had a problem visualizing. And once you start visualizing that, you start recognizing everything around you is a lesson. Everything around you is going to teach you something and is going to give you wisdom. And if you have a goal and it's a goal that's good for you and it's a goal that's good for humanity, you're going to reach that goal and your vision will become clearer and you won't be lost in a maze because you'll be on your road.
I love that. Yeah. So like when we have a goal that's centered around contribution and service, there's a lot of clarity, and I found a lot of power in that. I'll just accentuate what you just shared in an example in my own life. I worked in a company, a trade show display company, as VP of operations and marketing. And I would say it was not necessarily a very spiritually oriented place or one place where everyone saw each other's connectedness. There was a lot of separation, attack, and even the clients weren't seen by the owner as anybody really important. Like it was like there was a lack of integrity in a lot of different dimensions of the business. But I grew very powerful in that company, and I ended up earning more than anybody else there, even though there were people there for years before me. And I grew to the highest level position in the company because I just focused on like making sure everybody would win, right? Whether it was us and the team or it was the clients. And because that became my focus, I had a tremendous amount of boldness. My courage in taking action, and even sometimes disagreeing with the owner of the company and implementing something that maybe he wasn't on board with, which he later would then love and appreciate. It was like I was just bold enough to act because I was so committed that everybody would benefit. So my actions were driven by a consideration of everyone involved. And because of that, I could take action that maybe went against what other people were believing or wanting or agreeing with. It didn't matter. And in the end, it ended up working out and people saw the benefit. There was frustration sometimes, there was disagreement, there was conflict, but I just continued to press forward because I'm like, well, I'm not in this just for me. I'm in this for as much for you as I am for everybody else. I'm committed that everybody wins. And so it gave me a lot of strength. So I really appreciate that you brought that forth, that having a goal for humanity and for oneself really does, you know, it clears the path. It does. I've experienced it that way.
I think Rumi said it best. He said, seek not the cloak, but the wearer of the cloak.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not, you have to take off things, you know, that are burdening you, remove that. And that could be mentally removing things, you know, mentally removing things that are holding you back. But you have to recognize that. Now, how do we recognize that? How do we see that, you know, these things are holding us back? That's a whole nother process. It's all about, there's so many processes, you know, before I even get to the healing of my client, before I can even transfer universal love, you have to believe in universal love. Before I can get to the Reiki. So my packages, you know, start with a whole lifestyle transformation. You know, it starts with just looking around and seeing things that you feel like are negative towards you. You know, that maybe it's something that's an old book or something like that will invoke an emotion. Maybe it's a bottle of booze that, you know, you with objects and stuff, you can link it to situations that are either positive or negative. You know, like I have a trophy for my children, and when I see that trophy, it's like that's positive. You know, of course that's positive. It's for my children. You know, it's a whole story behind it. So when you're in your environment, when I talk to my clients, I say you need to create a place in your home or anywhere that you feel at total peace. Look around, whatever catches your eye that's making you feel anything negative, remove it. from there. So you're and in them doing that, in that process of doing that, they're already learning to control their energy, because they're learning to turn it on and off. They're learning to see what is bothering them without me, you know. So when I do tell them that, they don't realize that there are things in their environment that are causing them pain, or causing them to relive things that are not positive. So that process of clearing a space is already a step to healing. It's already a step into the path of knowing your great power, because you're taking that power back. You're removing things, even though they're tiny objects. It might just be, I don't know, an old sock, but that's not, you know, eventually that will get onto, once you start changing that subconscious mind and consciously removing things that will hinder your growth, even from a tiny little meditation exercise that I'm giving you. Once you start doing that, you'll start growing, and that whole process in your mind will translate to your daily life.
Absolutely.
So it's that conscious thinking that we've lost. We've lost that control of our thinking. Hey, we're all human. I go to places where I don't want to go to sometimes, but I'm out. I get there, and then it may take me a day or two, but I'm out of it. I do not let that negativity control my existence, especially impact people that I love. Now that to me is unacceptable for people to do that, because those are innocents, and you know, you can't let your demons impact other people.
Powerful. Wow, there's so much.
And that's what creates criminals, you know.
Yeah.
You know, let's look at it from a societal point of view. Let's look at it from a huge macro point of view. You know, when you let your own demons out and you don't control them, what do? They impact other people. They impact innocent people, you know, and that's the mindset of the criminal. So, you know, and that can cause you to do things against your perfection and against your own divine nature. So everything I speak about is translates to this reality. Nothing is, I'm not telling anybody to be in a different dimension. Not everyone is ready for that, and not everyone wants to go there. But everything that has a spiritual source, everything that has a heart governed by the heart, will transcend into your daily life, and will help you in your daily life. You know, so to achieve what your greatness. And everybody wants to be great.
I love this. And, you know, you were mentioning so many things. I'm going back to, you know, I moved here to Georgia and left a lot of objects from Florida behind because I knew it was like, there's just too much old there and patterns and habits, and I'm really creating myself newly. And I just like, you know, not that objects really ultimately have power over us, but there is meaning that we give things, and it does build tracks in our mind and our brain. And sometimes it's easier just to let those things go and to move forward. And it's a choice that everyone has to make. Then there are also things that objects that still remain here in the where I moved, that I had applied a negative connotation to. And it was really just kind of squeezed into a space where it's like, man, I can give that new meaning. I can recreate what that symbolizes for me. And really that gave me a power, because I'm always, there's no object that has power over a human except our brain can have those habits that we mentioned, as you mentioned. But I saw that, you know what, well, I can transform the meaning that it has for me and create it as a symbol of power. Like you said, you have trophies, right? And they're symbols of positive things for you in your life. Well, I can convert this thing that was once negative, and I can say, well, how can I empower myself by observation of this? And I have done that, and I've created a symbol of it that actually says, hey, this is where you conquered a part of yourself that was in fear or doubt or worry or lack or whatever. And now this is a symbol of how you conquered it from within. Nothing outside had to change for you to step into your power, you know?
And that's the concept of alchemy. That is when, and that is after the fact. When you have understood all of that, then you can go out in the world and be a leader. And that's being a leader. When you can take a negative and turn it into a positive, that is the supreme leadership that you could have. You could, you know, people who come to you with a negative energy, with negative trauma, when you're able to take that and transform it into a positive thing, and a positive way of thinking, and a positive experience, that's you've reached a level of alchemy. And if you could do it for other people, that's more like divine. That's more, that's more higher level. So it's like all a process. I mean, my history is in business. I worked for the government. I was an operations analyst, and then I became a budget analyst. So I understand how all that stuff all that stuff works. But you can become a coach. You can become like yourself or like myself and be an inspiration to others. But we have to basically know who we are first, and we have to keep everything in perspective. You know what I mean? And know where we are in the whole universe. That's why when there are days I'm not balanced, I don't feel I could have clients. Because I don't want to transfer that energy to them. They deserve 100% perfection when I deal with them. You can't make someone realize their perfection if you're not understanding your own perfection. And perfection does not mean arrogance. And perfection is not the regular word that perfection might mean. Perfection means you created just how you were supposed to be. And there's nothing wrong with who you are. Perfection doesn't mean being a model. It doesn't mean having, great legs, great hair, having plastic surgery and being perfect. The perfection of this reality is that. But, accepting who you are is perfection. And your quirks and your little, bad days and good days, that's still perfection because that's who you are.
I love that. What I'm hearing is like perfection is really in our perception, not so much in what's going on out there or externally. It's like, how are we viewing what's there? That's where perfection really lives, in our awareness and our viewpoint, right? Like there can be things going on in our life and we can be in our perfect state of being because we're not in conflict with it. That's what I got out of what you just shared. Yeah.
Right. And that's exactly why I said, let's go back full circle. That's exactly why I said I haven't really gone through a transformation because I was already who I am. I already was a powerful being. So it didn't take trauma. It didn't take a low to make me who I am. I kind of already knew who I was because I was able to see that value even in those, in those darkest times. It didn't change me. It didn't impact me to behave in a certain way to impact other people.
That's beautiful. Yeah, unlike myself, who, as I shared with you before the call, I went through some difficult circumstances. I did not know who I was, or I forgot who I was. And I did end up becoming someone who negatively impacted people and, took all that anger and the pain that I was feeling out on the world around me until it caught up with me, which it eventually always will, as a beautiful gift, although it was very uncomfortable. But I then realized I had to take another look at what was going on. What would you say, Hafeeza, to people who, unlike yourself, they don't know their power. They don't know that they're perfect. They really are inundated in their circumstance. Like their viewpoint is, I'm stuck, I'm trapped, I don't feel perfect, I don't feel whole. How would you deal with someone like that who's going through something that they can't see as perfect in its nature, but they're in resistance to it?
You have to, I would say you have to get back to source. You have to open your eyes to the smallest little thing. You have to think about you as a human being, your physiology, your biology, your body. You have to try to, I would try to connect them with, like I said, that same example of nature, of looking, visualizing things that are like perfect. You look at an ant, you look at, I would take them for a walk. You look at a leaf and you look at a tree, they exist in perfection. They exist like they are if you ever examine a leaf, if you ever see an ant, it's right in front of you. If you look at your fingerprints, if you sit and you breathe and you feel your lungs, I mean, that is a divine creation. That is something that nobody can recreate. So why would you not feel that you are anything but perfect.
Mm.
You have to go back to your essence, your very essence. My teacher had a fantastic example, and he was speaking, and he said one little line resonates with me, and I'm like, oh my God, that's amazing. He says that when you're watching TV, right, and you're getting an image in front of the TV, right, he's like, that's amazing. That is amazing how the human mind can bounce a signal of something in space, a satellite, and bring it to your living room. And he said, us as watching the TV, why can we not do that? We created that. We are the creator of that magnificence of being able to see ourselves from, even the cell phone. You'll be able to hear someone from the rest, from another country, from the rest of the world. So it's opening your eyes and being aware of everything that's around you that's already perfect. You have a pet, you look at your pet, you look at the eyes, you look at the beauty, and in order to do that, that's when people have to become awoke. That's where they start waking up, is to have the ability to see things for what they really are. And then you will see your magnificence of who you really are.
Wow. I really, I love the emphasis on the simplicity of perfection that you brought forth.
It's simple. Oh my! It's like it's so simple. And when you see when you remove the blinds, you take off the coat, and you see the simplicity of everything in life, and how it's already there. The simplicity it's right in front of you. It's in the mirror. You look in the mirror and you see two eyes that are looking back at you. That's magnificence right there.
Wow. That is really so beautiful. And, it reminds me of my early journey out of darkness of my own creation and, changing my life, changing my ways. And I remember connecting with nature so much. And I was in awe of all these simple little things. I would watch ants crawling. I would study leaves. I would look at the trees. I would try and understand them. And then I realized, I just wanted to see them. And it was just looking without engaging even my mind at times. It was just I would just look and behold what was happening as it was. I would let the waves do what they were doing, and I would just let the movement of nature or the activity of nature just penetrate me without me trying to figure any of it out. And there was something interesting about just allowing in the way things were being. And I can see now, and I'm hearing this or remembering this inside of what you just shared, how I was even meditating with I had a rosemary plant and a basil plant. And I would meditate in front of them and concentrate on them and concentrate on sending energy to the plant and learning from it, what was there, what was it doing, and just creating a relationship with that by being present to it. And I noticed how that would overflow into my life. I worked in a restaurant at the time while I was also in school, and I was a server. And I noticed that the way I was trying to give light and energy to the plant and just be with the plant, I started being with people the same way. And I noticed I started looking at people like my plants, and I wanted to water them. I wanted to make sure they were getting enough sun. And there was just a natural nurturing that was formed inside of me. And it started to overflow into humanity as it first began with the plants that I was taking care of. So yeah, thanks for bringing this up and bringing it back to my mind. I think it's beautiful what you share. You're reminding people that, hey, perfection's simple and it's everywhere you look. If you just take a minute to just pay attention, really. It's not like you have to do some magical something.
No, you don't. I was in the shower once, and I had this fantastic story. And I saw an ant, and it was dead in the shower on the window ledge. And I was like, oh my God, I felt really bad. But a couple of minutes later, another one came. Another ant came, put it on its back, and walked off with it.
Whoa.
And I'm like, wow, this was out of the blue. Just came, lifted it up, and walked away with it.
Wow.
And I'm like, wow, that's the unity of us. That's the unity of the universe. From out of nowhere, how did that ant know that the other one was dead or ailing or whatever, and came, picked it up? There weren't any ants around. It was just one little dead ant, and then another one just showed up out of nowhere, picked him up off his back, and walked off. And I'm like, you see, there's lessons in everything. Once your eyes are open, there are lessons in every single thing, and that's the beauty of creation. And when you understand that oneness, you're going to see the lessons and everything. Those answers that you're looking to get to your higher level, you're looking to, it may even change your goals once you start understanding, you know, your reality and seeing what is actually around you. You know, your goal might be, you know, I want to make tons of money and stuff like that. In your journey, your goal might take you your journey might take you to another goal.
This is beautiful. I really appreciate, you know, the opportunity to connect with you here and to share on this wavelength, and just taking me back to my own spiritual journey at different points in time, and just presencing me again to some of the simplicity that even I can sometimes overlook. So I really appreciate you supporting everyone who's watching with these insights and just straight talk. Like, transformation is really just a recognition of who you are, and a release from who you're not, is what I'm really hearing inside of this. Like, it's, you always were already it. It's just, there's nothing really even to transform. It's just a recognition of what was already so perfect at the beginning. And that's really liberating.
You're just transforming your life. You're not transforming you. You're changing your life to fit you, fit your perfection, fit your goals, fit your dreams. You're not changing you, because you already are who you're supposed to be.
Wow.
And that is,
I love how you said that. You know, you're transforming life. You're not transforming you. You're transforming life to fit to the perfection of you. That's awesome. That was a really good way to, I think, to end our show today. Hafeeza Khan, really thank you again, CEO and owner of the Health and Healing Team LLC. I definitely love the work that you're creating in the world, and the transformation that you're bringing, which is really just a reminder of what always was there. And I thank you for your stance on that. I thank you for your service to humanity, and I appreciate your time and contribution to me on this recording and this show. So you're a real blessing, Hafeeza. Totally appreciate you.
for you. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
It's a wonderful thing. Cool. All right. Well, thanks again.